Pure energy. Pure energy.
Hey gang, thanks for stopping by, and I appreciate you joining this live premiere. I found this station, and in my opinion, it's a legitimate, independent news agency, the UK Column. I've looked at a lot of their videos, and they seem to just bring the truth, the non-biased truth, and kudos to them. Now, I may be wrong, and if I am, but it's just my opinion. I think they have a really good channel and a very interesting take on what's going on with FEMA and North Carolina and Florida right now. So anyways, thanks again. And by the way, we'll see you later at Michelle's Live, Sunday, probably around 4. Love y'all.
Yes, thanks, Brian. So I started covering last week the recovery efforts in relation to Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and I think this deserves much more coverage. So let's go a little bit more into it. Although, again, I would add the caveat that I'm not necessarily going to cover these things the way the mainstream media would do so, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into what's actually happening and ask some particular questions. Just as a reminder, as I said last week, Hurricane Katrina is still unprecedented when it comes to the level of disaster, especially in terms of deaths. As we see here in 2005, almost 1,400 people died as a result of Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Helene has an approximate death toll of around 228, which of course still may change. Hurricane Milton has approximately 12. And again, we don't really know these final totals yet because we're still dealing with the impact of the storms. We have a lot of mainstream media coverage that we've been seeing as well about admitting that, not everyone knows exactly what's happening yet. There have been some deaths where people still haven't been identified, and Hurricane Helene made landfall about 3 weeks ago. I'm also going to be covering some social media reports that's showing some things of what's happening on the ground from citizens who are probably potentially recording some things that wouldn't be shown in the mainstream media for various reasons, as we might imagine. As of the 19th of October, we still have unidentified people who are dead, and we still see, for example, that there may be more than 6 months without power in some areas of Western North Carolina where the devastation was the worst. And we see a lot of volunteers who are helping and doing a lot of the work in providing generators, where FEMA is generally just not happening anywhere that's useful. So let's see a video clip here to see what's going on.
As crews work to remove debris and restore utilities.
This storm knocked out both the main line and the redundant line.
Asheville Mayor Esther Mannheimer says plenty of work remains. It could be weeks until residents have potable water again.
Do you think that there's anything that could have been done differently to better prepare for something like this?
No, I don't think so. I don't know on the budget of a local government how you create systems that are resilient enough to withstand a catastrophic event like this without any failure. I don't think that's possible.
The mayor and other officials warn that misinformation and conspiracy theories, especially about the federal response, continue to complicate recovery efforts in a region that never expected a storm of this magnitude.
The biggest tragedy to me is if someone doesn't get the benefit they are allowed to get or are entitled to because they believe one of these conspiracy theories.
The mayor herself has been the target of online attacks and threats, including anti-Semitism.
It can take your focus off of the recovery effort, and for me, created a terrible concern about just how people in this world think about challenges like we're facing right now, that they want to find a scapegoat, that they want to find someone to blame instead of doing what everyone I see here doing, which is helping a neighbor, coming together as a community, helping one another try to recover from this catastrophe.
So what we're starting to see here, Brian, is people who are not taking responsibility at the highest levels, including the mayor of the closest major city to the area, which is Asheville, North Carolina. That was the mayor of Asheville. We see FEMA just starting to say, well, it's all misinformation. It's conspiracy theory. We're hearing these words over and over again. We have a FEMA website that is called the Hurricane Rumor Response website, where they are apparently trying to bust some of the myths and create what they say are falsehoods and pieces of misinformation and conspiracy theories about what's actually happening and what FEMA is and is not providing. And it's all actually just very interesting, because when we actually look deeper into what they have and have not done, that there's some of the funding that we see for fiscal year 2025, what we have heard is rumors that FEMA can't actually afford to provide disaster relief. An interesting thing here, and this is the 2024 fiscal year report to Congress, is that we see that the majority of the budget has gone to COVID-19 relief in the year 2024, which doesn't really make any sense to me, considering the fact that we have hurricanes every year in America. When we look more at some of the sort of the local coverage by people, individuals, we see more and more people who are suffering, people who've had their homes destroyed as a result of the devastation. This man in particular offered some of his own personal business space to FEMA to borrow, and then they decided they were evicting him from his own business space, and now he doesn't know what to do. He's kind of left with no options. You can watch his entire video. The link is in the show notes. We also see FEMA saying that they have stopped any assistance that they were providing because of the threat of armed militia. We don't really know what this means. Some people say this has been debunked, and some people say it hasn't. So they have either evacuated or not shown up at all yet because of the dangers of these armed militia groups that are apparently out there. But then we see individuals saying on social media that's not really true. There is no armed militia. They're just not there. They didn't show up, and they're using that as an excuse for why FEMA isn't actually coming to do anything for the victims of the hurricane. So let's see one more video here. This was the result of an independent journalist from Steel News that actually went into what is one of these FEMA camps, which is located in the area of the devastation. And then let's talk a little bit about what she found out and where we go from there.
Is out here in west of Asheville, about an hour and a half west of Asheville. And they're putting a tornado shelter in here, apparently. Got a delivery. So stick with us. We're going to figure out what's going on. Maybe I can slide in with this truck. They won't see me. Hi. I'm Ann Vandersteel with Steel News.
Okay.
I'm live right now, and I'm just wanting to find out what y'all are doing here and who's organizing and who's actually got the property under lease.
Okay. Give me 1 second, and I'll go ahead and just get some supervisor to come out here and speak to you. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank
Are you guys private security?
Yes, ma'am.
You are? Who's your contract with?
Strategic Security Corps.
And who do they contract with?
Let me call it.
Do you guys know who your contractor is?
We'll be able to answer all your questions for you. Who'd you say you're with, ma'am?
So eventually the manager came out after the guy made the phone call, and he eventually came out and said, well, these locations are being built for up to 700 responders so that the survivors can stay in the hotels in the area. Now, I'm wondering about the tornado sort of things that were coming in on the trucks, the tornado shelters. Western North Carolina is not a particular area for tornadoes, and there are several of these coming in, so I'm kind of wondering what these actually are. There's been some rumors about that, but nobody knows for sure. They were saying the FEMA responders could have a range of duties, but the locals are saying that FEMA again hasn't been in the area. The manager says that this infrastructure, this particular camp, needs to be built before FEMA can come in and help the survivors who are, currently living without heat, without water, without food, without any basic resources, but they're waiting for these camps to be built before they can get any help. So those are some interesting questions. This is apparently drone footage of this FEMA camp on the next slide, where we can see that the locals said, well, these are popping up overnight, but although it's built for what appears to be a long-term presence, FEMA was saying, well, they're using this to bring in the full assistance of the government, but people on the ground are saying that actually doesn't seem to be happening at all. When we look at a map on Google Maps, for example, we see that the locations of what they're labeling as the Western North Carolina floods are the areas where they're building these camps. And I did a little bit of research as to where these are physically located in Western North Carolina. They do correspond very closely to where the majority of the worst devastation was. Another interesting question that's come out is who owns these areas that are being sold and made into camps. These seem to be a range of trucking organizations called small Smoky Park Acres, Park Solutions. These all seem to be owned by the same man who has a Ukrainian name and also owns a trucking company, which is called Delta Transport, and we are looking into that. Now, coming back to the Strategic Security Corps that the armed guards that the lady was talking to in the video, I looked into this a little bit more because this is particularly interesting. They are listed on Facebook as hiring for Hurricane Helene armed security in South Carolina, but they've mentioned this in a number of states related to the area, although, of course, we know the majority of the devastation was actually in North Carolina and Tennessee. So I followed that link to their website to see what they were looking for in terms of their job description. They're looking for people who are emergency responders, and these are for immediate emergency response and deployment. They are proud to be a FEMA contract holder. They are in charge of armed or unarmed security guards, temporary life support facilities, search and rescue teams, and swift water flood rescue teams. And the specific job description in particular is really, really concerning. This is basically a public-private partnership, obviously working with FEMA. But if you look at some of the things they want them to do, they want to have a lot of arm. They want them to be able to apply handcuffs. They want to wear a exposed handgun, police-style full-duty rig, level 2 retention holster, pursue suspects on foot and subdue combative person after running in pursuit, climbing while in pursuit or in an emergency situation, on and on and on. So these are not just people who are going to go into homes and rescue people and give them food and clothing. Brian, I'm really wondering why this is necessary, because I can't imagine that a FEMA officer would need to be doing police-style rescue operations in the aftermath of a devastating hurricane.
The good book says